The last of the Black Templars have arrived.
Spiky Bits.
Welcome back, Hobby Maniacs. I'm Rob Bear from SpikyBits.com, and today we're gonna unbox. Well, we were gonna unbox, but I'll get to all that. We're gonna unbox and build these kits. So yeah, the new Templars are here. It's a really cool wave too. Obviously this guy is pretty dope. The Castellan from that Blanche artwork from basically 20 years ago, and then Hellbrecht got redone in that really cool Mark Gibbons artwork from back in the day as well. Grimaldus, we're not gonna mess with him. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to get to him, but he looks really cool too, and definitely based on some classic artwork as well. As far as pricing goes, the Sword Brethren are $55, which is actually, kind of on par. I figure 50, 55, depending on where they went with that for specialized troops. The Castellan is $35, and you can use this guy as either a Primaris or also as a Firstborn. A lot of different things. I mean, technically, he's a lieutenant for the Templars. But, it is what it is there. And Helbrecht is $45 because I guess he's got that big chunky 60 mil base and some other models on there. So it's a nice big selection of characters to kind of round out your forces, of course. And then, you have all the Wave 1 stuff that came in the Army box, came into Combat Patrol. Combat Patrol is a different video. Make sure you check that out here on the channel. But let's get into taking a look at some of the sprues and actually building the miniatures. First up, we'll take a look at the Castellan. Now, this is kind of an interesting kit. So it's got the little clam pack thing in it. It's just a one single sprue there. It's going to come with, the normal 40 mil base that most of the characters come on for Primaris. And just this one little thing of sprue here. So there's not a lot of options for it. We'll take a look at that here in a second and hit up this instruction manual real quick. Because I was looking at this earlier, and there's a lot of slices and a lot of dices. And, a lot of it's standard, but a lot of it's not. So left and right half right here. And then it goes into, just plop the helmet on top. Nothing too crazy. But then it gets into the weird slices. Like the skull is like an actual slice. This arm is all sorts of sliced up. And then the shoulder pad is actually split between the two right here. Backpack goes on like normal. And then you've got the hands that go on as normal too. Actually, let me go grab my tools because I want to show you a little technique here that I don't talk about a lot. I don't have a lot of time to do it sometimes when we're assembling this stuff, but I do want to touch on it. And then you just attach them to the base. The tactical rock is actually attached to the foot, so no texture on the base. Now, here's the Castellan assembled, and you can see it's a great miniature. You got a ton of detail in here, like all that bespoke kind of, I guess more Baroque, not bespoke. Bespoke means custom. And just so much detail in there, that really just screams, hey, I'm a John Blanche model, main manifest, which is kind of crazy when you start thinking about it. Like this, the ability to go back and duplicate art almost completely perfectly 20 years later is kind of a testament to the technology Games Workshop has produced, and also the moat they've built around their whole, everything. So what I like to do for barrels, you can see here it's flat, and everybody's like, oh, draw your barrels, stupid noob. Well, what I like to do, and I didn't do it on this because I was kind of pressed for time, is just take a thumbtack, right? Take a thumbtack and get it in there centered as much as you can. And it's hard to do on this, so I'm actually looking at it. So you just want to get in here and press really hard into what you think is the center area of wherever it is on your barrel right there. And I was a little off, but that's okay. And then you come in with, and I always keep stock one of my drill bits with the size for barrels and things like that. I think it's 1/16, I want to say. So you come in here and you just put it in the nub, so you're actually making a kind of like a little pilot hole, and then you're gonna drill and twist this. Now I'm a little high because you can see it on the camera, so I would just kind of twist down and kind of push down, and that would drill that out pretty much perfectly for the most part. I think that was probably too big, so I think I want to do this one right here. That's probably more the size that we want, and then we just get in there and twist it out. Now for this particular model here, there was a little bit, nope, it wasn't this one, but you can see where the seams are for like this shoulder pad was basically cut in half on this, and then over here, like this is the seam right around that skull. So using this liquid, this Tamiya extra thin liquid cement that we're always talking about here, really makes it so it kind of fills up those seams and you don't see any gaps. Although most of the Games Workshop miniatures, you know, they've designed it so well that they're not going to show those gaps. And you can see there's a big gap underneath there, and I was really worried about it when I squished this together, because that is the only place you can even remotely see it. But there is a gap, but the spacing's right for this arm and this shoulder pad here. So it all goes together really well, and then just a little bit extra effort, you can draw out your bolters with that little technique I kind of taught you right there. Like I said, I always keep this extra thin cement, or for larger gap filling issues, I use this Vallejo plastic putty too. This stuff's great, and I can show you where to get it. I always talk about it, and I always say hey, it's in the comments, or hey, it's in, you know, the description. But let me show you, if you're on the site, where to grab it from too. So if you're ever reading the site and you wonder where this mythical list of things is, it's actually here under Essential Hobby Supplies. There's a huge list of all the stuff we use every day, along with the links to the tutorials and all the different things that you might need to know exactly how to use the particular product. There's pictures, of course, those get clicked on the most, but lots and lots of things in here that you would probably use for your hobby. I'm not saying everybody needs everything in here, but this is the list of all the stuff I use or I've talked about at some point. And to get to it easily, you can always click on this link right here on any of the pages. Now on mobile, you're probably gonna have to click the hamburger menu, and it's in there as like Essential Hobbies or something like that, but you can find it pretty easily on mobile as well. I did want to mention too that this guy is about the same size as a normal Primaris. So they say you can use him as a firstborn. I mean, technically he isn't specifically Primaris, because his artwork existed way longer before Primarises were even a thing. So, you know, feel free to use him as kind of whatever in your particular army there, because his size is right to kind of support that, I feel like. So kind of just a really neat character all the way around. Next up, we've got High Marshal Helbrecht. This guy, wow, just a really cool build, and to see him actually available, you know, as a miniature, as a reboot, and in Primaris is really neat. And the fact that he's got such cool little kind of diorama based on that Mark Gibbons artwork we talked about, it's just really cool that GW puts out this stuff. And you know, this is one of the things that we love so much about the hobby, and it really gets us in and keeps us engrossed. But you know, there's always the other things that we talk about, you know, news-wise, that kind of a little off-putting to people. But this is it. So this is the sprues that come in here. We're not going to take a whole like super look at that right this second, but let's jump into the instructions, because there's a lot of stuff going on here. So in true traditional Primaris form, the arms or the legs are kind of crazy with the greaves and things, and there's a lot of slicing going on, but then a left and right hatch. His actual belt buckle is a separate bit. Part of his cape and shoulder pads, separate bit, so you're definitely going to want to use some of that Tamiya super thin glue if you have it, because that way you can kind of fuse it together, and I'll show you what we're going to do on ours. I'm not a super fan of this purity seal just randomly on this, but you know, it goes with the flow because his tabards are kind of leaning that way right here. So I kind of get the dynamic like composition of it. He's got 3 different heads too, but I think we'll probably use blue tack on all this, just to, you know, be able to not glue it all down and actually come back and paint it later. Or one of our Patreons that actually gets this will be able to paint it later as well. Maybe not glue down the backpack. Backpack's pretty cool looking. Very similar to the Marshal in composition, and you've got his little attendants here that are probably more famous than him, judging by the internet memes at this point. And then his combi melter right there being held by the other one. So it doesn't look like anything too crazy as far as composition so far, as far as putting it together. And then you got the left and right halves here, and then the dead orc, or you have the option to actually use this little pile of rubble that he can put his sword in, which is optional right here that they show you. So you don't necessarily have to paint a whole nother figure if you don't want to, but if you want to do traditional Armageddon style, well, then he could be, you know, killed in work. So let's see how they both kind of line up and how easy this model is to put together. All right, so here's the sprues, and as you can see, and we're probably going to talk about this too, the texture of the rubble here is actually very well done. It looks like some sort of sand, so that'll be easy to kind of paint and dry brush. And then you've got all his little attendants and things. Very well done, detail-wise. And then you've got this 2-part kind of, I think that, yeah, that connects in the back to one of the attendants. So that's the majority of the support characters, and then Helbrecht is almost the composition of this whole sprue right here. Which we showed you already. You know, he's got a lot going on with these slices and things, and then he's got the it's kind of interesting, I guess you can see it from the front some on his cape, and then this is going to tie in somehow over to here right there, it looks like. So that shoulder pads again, so that's going to be a little tricky, to make kind of look seamless, because when you're painting this with a fade, you don't want to see that big gap up there, right? You only want to see folds. So that's the one thing that GW hasn't kind of perfected yet, is the folds in fabric, you know, where they have to do those like computer slices. But with a little bit of that Tamiya super thin glue, you can kind of do the work for them. Wow, okay, so this miniature is just incredible. I mean, just look at it. Look at the composition of this. It's just got so much going on in so many different places. I definitely recommend, if you're going to put it together, you know, before you actually glue it down permanently, you want to paint all these guys separately. And it's very easy to just use some blue tack and blue tack them all down. They sit on here perfectly. Everything lines up well. I switched out the little rubble pile just to make sure that that locked in pretty good, and it sure does. So you don't necessarily have to do this particular pose right here if you don't want to. I didn't glue down the head, because even though I like that head personally, I don't, you know, this miniature isn't for me. It's going to go to one of our Patreon supporters. So I don't know what they're going to want, perhaps. So we didn't glue all that stuff down, but everything locks in really well. And you can see, you know, there's so much detail here. There's so much going on with the different layers of bits. Now over here, I wanted to draw your attention to this. Right here is where that gap is going to be, and I was able to fill most of it with the Tamiya super thin glue. That actually right there is kind of clear. That's actually sealed, so once it paints, it will it should not show anymore. But you can kind of see normally there would be a gap here, but using that super thin glue, it definitely got in there and filled it all up, which I definitely recommend for any of the crazy gaps like that you just don't want to see a big gap right there, because there's not supposed to be a gap. There's folds, right? And that just wouldn't look so well with that. So this, and over here too, this would be another good opportunity to use the thumbtack and the drill bit technique. You can even do it in the melted, but you need a bigger drill bit right there that I showed you for drilling out your barrels. But overall, I think this is a really great miniature, and it goes together very, very well. You can see right here, he locks right in, but you're gonna have to use a little bit of blue tack till you get this guy all painted. But yeah, very, very cool miniature, and it's really neat to see just how they're able to go back and take all that artwork and just kind of turn it into baller miniatures. Now, he is obviously way bigger than the normal Primaris Marine, because he is a Primaris Marine now, and boom goes the dynamite. Finally, we have the Black Templar Sword Brethren box, and this is really cool because we saw these guys come out in pewter, and I guess they were maybe in fine cast at some point. Later on, they're all on 40 mil bases. They're all special characters. Now, as far as, you know, like competitive scene, I don't know. The Templar lists we're seeing right now aren't necessarily these particular Crusader squads and things like that. It's more of a spamming out the 5-up invul save from that Vow. But, you know, that being said, it doesn't mean that if you're a Templar player, it wouldn't be super fluffy to get these and paint these up, because, you know, these are really dynamic, and they got a ton of different poses, which I'm about to show you. So it's 3 actual separate sprues and no duplication here, and as they're going to show you, you know, each one makes a different number of miniatures right here. Like this particular one has a bolter. I don't know what that is. Oh, that's a squad upgrade. So you can have the bolter, power weapon, bolter, and also chainsword right there if you want. And then just kind of going through, they show you like all the different things you can do as far as like combi weapons and things like that, and all the different options they give you. There's a ton of different options in here. There's even a thunder hammer. Let's show you that one. So you've got these bits over here that you can use with the bolter. Not everything makes every version, but for the most part, so like here you can get the lightning claws, aka Wolverine style, or you can go with the bolter or the assault bolter pistol, or you can have the single pistols here and a chainsword. And then this, I love this pose right here. This guy just looks fresh. Or you can give him a thunder hammer, which is the 1 per squad, and then it's probably done. Now, what I like about these sprues is that you have all those different options, but unfortunately, here, let me show you. Unfortunately, you are going to have to, all these guys have capes and shoulder pads. So what you could do is, you could maybe forego the capes, because for the most part, the capes aren't sliced and go on here. You could forego the capes. You could use some extra shoulder pads from the upgrade set if you're getting the combat patrol, and then you can magnetize the arms to do kind of whatever build you might particularly need. Or you could go a step further and magnetize the cape itself, because you could glue the cape to the shoulder to the backpack, and then magnetize the backpack at this spot, this socket spot right here. that might actually work as well. Those I think are your only options because, you know, each arm is going to require a shoulder pad, which is kind of a bummer, but there's a super easy way to get all those extra shoulder pads out there too. And this one, I think do these go around? No, I don't think this cape goes around either. So it looks like they're all very separate. So as long as you use good magnets, which I'm about to show, is that part of it? That one might go over it a little bit. No, it just goes over the pad. So, okay, so none of them are actually designed to be glued down. So as long as you can get these to stick to the backpack, you can magnetize the backpack and magnetize all the arms to make all the versions in this set, which is really cool. So let me show you how to do it. Well, upon further review, it turns out I was a little bit more excited about this than I had initially thought, and it turns out you can't do that. Well, you could do that if Games Workshop hadn't designed these the way they did. So yes, you could switch out the arms at the shoulder sockets with some 1/8 by 1/16 magnets. I get mine from the Magnet Baron. They'll, you know, you drill in there and then you drill in the actual arms themselves right here, and you'll be able, with these magnets, as long as you keep your polarities right, you'll be able to swap out the arms. And you'd even be able to do the backpack right here, clip that off, put the backpack in there, and have the cape. And the cape would actually lock over your shoulder pad, and it wouldn't torque because it would lock in. So your shoulder pad or your backpack wouldn't spin. Everything would work swimmingly, and that would be great. You'd be able to swap these out here. Unfortunately, all of the weapons switch out at the hands, and Games Workshop designed the hands, instead of making them switch out at the wrist, they did this split hand sort of thing. So you literally have to glue whatever it is onto this. Now, in theory, you could cut this off for any of them that don't have a chain going to it, and even then you could cut the chain off if you really wanted to. And I mean, I guess you could, but the problem is that you need this half. If they had just left the other hand on all these weapons, you would just be able to magnetize them and swap them in and out. So I'm not exactly sure why they did this. I guess maybe because of the chains and things like that, they figured, hey, we need, you know, more, you know, I don't know, sturdy design on this to lock those in. But I never really seen anything like that before. So I just figured we could swap those out at the wrist, and then also swap out the arms for the ones that had the different poses. But they don't even give you enough arms to magnetize to kind of swap between everything. So honestly, it looks like you're not going to be able to magnetize any of that. You could do the arms if you really wanted to, I suppose. You could buy 2 kits, but then why? You know, then you're buying extra. I guess you could have one squad that would always be whatever you really wanted if you want to go that far with it. But I feel like most people just wouldn't be interested in doing any of that. So this is going to be a really hard one to magnetize. I don't have an easy solution for you. Like I said, you could do it at the arm joints, at the shoulders, and the backpack to clip on the capes. But what you may want to do is just get, you know, some extra assault weapon arms from the assault intercessors, if you can buy them in bits, and then magnetize them at the joints, and you would be good to go at that point. And then you would just need that one set with the lightning claws, and I think you'd be okay. Because then you'd just build these with the Templar specific stuff, and then the other stuff with, you know, you're not going to have the power weapons and things with the assault intercessors. You would need those from this kit. So I would build those with this kit, and then take assault intercessors, and then you would have the chain swords and the pistols to be good to go. So that's kind of what I would do with this. Now, unfortunately, I was going to build and do all this, but one of my cats passed away while I was doing it, so it's kind of been rough. So I didn't get to this, and, you know, I apologize, because I really wanted to build this, and I had some great ideas for it, but it's just been really rough this weekend. So yeah, we'll hopefully have some better solutions for this, you know, going forward. But I think that's probably what I would do if I was looking to magnetize all of this kit. So in the future, hopefully we have a little bit more time to do these things. But, you know, it's the way things are right now. It's just any little disruptions, and obviously isn't a little disruption, and it was kind of rough. So we do what we can, and please forgive me for not having that content for you. But yeah, so everything else is here, and I think the detail is amazing, and the seeing these kits and all the things you can do with the Templars It's just really cool to see. So very flavorful Marine army, lots of Grimdark, lots of Grimdark, and having, you know, the Castellan miniature, and then also Helbrecht. It's just a great time to be a Templars player, I'm sure. So that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching our unboxing build of some of the new Templar kits, but not all. And yeah, so thanks for watching, and hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications to get the very first to like and comment on all our videos.